Hello, my brilliant students. Welcome back. Today, we are jumping into a topic that is absolutely essential for your WAEC, NECO, and JAMB success. We're talking about functioning ecosystems. This one comes up all the time, so we're going to break it all down, look at some diagrams, and even tackle real exam questions to make sure you are more than ready. So, what's on the menu today? First, we'll cover the big question. What even is an ecosystem? Then we'll get into the nitty-gritty of its components and how energy flows through it. After that, we'll look at how nature recycles its materials through nutrient cycling. And the best part, we're going to practice with actual past questions from your exams. We'll wrap it all up with a quick recap and some killer exam tips. Ready? Let's get straight into it. All right. First things first, what exactly is an ecosystem? I'm telling you, if you get this concept down, you're already on your way to grabbing some serious marks. It's that fundamental. Okay, so the official definition sounds a bit complex, but it's really simple. Think of it like a bustling market. You have the living things, the biotic factors, right? That's the sellers, the buyers, everyone moving around. Then you have the non-living things, the abiotic factors, like the stalls, the sunlight, the air. An ecosystem is just that, a community where all the living things interact with each other and with their non-living environment, all in a balanced way that keeps everything going. Now, why should you care so much about this? Listen, this isn't just one small topic. It's the key that unlocks so many other areas in your syllabus. We're talking about energy flow, nutrient cycling, food webs, the whole shebang. Trust me, the people who set your WAEC, JAMB, and NECO questions love this topic because it connects everything. So paying attention now will pay off big time. Okay, let's move on to the next piece of the puzzle, the components and the flow of energy. This is really the story of who eats who, and more importantly, where all the energy actually goes. So, every ecosystem has two types of components, and you have to know the difference. You've got your biotic components. The word bio means life, right? So these are all the living things, the plants, the animals, even the tiny little microbes you can't see. Then you have the abiotic components. A means not. So these are the non-living things. We're talking about sunlight, the temperature, the water in the soil, even the wind. These non-living things basically set the stage for where and how the living things can survive. Now, within the living or biotic community, everyone has a job to do. There are three main roles. First up, you have the producers. These are the self-sufficient ones, the chefs of the ecosystem, like a cassava plant using sunlight to make its own food. Then you have the consumers. These guys can't make their own food, so they have to eat other organisms to get energy. Think of a goat munching on grass or a lion hunting. And finally, we have the decomposers. These are the essential recycling crew, bacteria and fungi that break down all the dead stuff, returning nutrients to the soil. Without them, the whole system would grind to a halt. Okay, this next point is absolutely crucial for your exams. Energy flow in an ecosystem is a one-way trip. It's not a cycle. It starts with the sun, gets captured by plants, and then moves up the food chain. But here's the catch, and I want you to write this down. It's incredibly inefficient. At every single step, about 90% of the energy is lost, mostly as heat. That means only about 10% makes it to the next level. This is the famous 10% rule, and it explains so much about how ecosystems are structured. So the simplest way to see this energy flow is with a food chain. It's a straight line of who eats who. Let's take a simple example. You start with grass, our producers, soaking up the sun's energy. Along comes a grasshopper, our primary consumer, and eats the grass. Then a lizard, the secondary consumer, eats the grasshopper. And finally, a hawk, our tertiary consumer, swoops down and eats the lizard. See that? A straight line. Each of these steps is called a trophic level. But let's be real, nature is never that simple, is it? It's not just one straight line. In reality, it's more like a a web. A food web shows all the different interconnected food chains. That hawk might not just eat lizards, it might also eat snakes. And the grass isn't just eaten by grasshoppers. Goats might eat it too. This big, messy network is what we call a food web. And all those connections actually make the ecosystem much stronger and more stable. So, how can we visualize this structure of energy in organisms? Biologists and your exam setters love using something called ecological pyramids. Think of them as a snapshot that shows you what's happening at each level of the food chain. There are three main types you need to know. First is the pyramid of numbers. It's simple, you just count how many individual organisms are at each level. But it can be tricky. Sometimes it's inverted or upside down. Imagine one single huge tree, that's your producer base, supporting thousands and thousands of tiny aphids. See? Inverted. Second, we have the pyramid of biomass. This one measures the total dry weight of all the organisms at each level. It's usually a classic pyramid shape. But the most important one, the one that never lies, is the pyramid of energy. It shows the total energy at each level. And because of that 90% energy loss we talked about, it is always an upright pyramid. It can never be inverted. That's a key exam fact right there. All right, on to our third section. We've established that energy flows makes a one-way trip. It flows through and then it's gone. But what about the actual building blocks of life, the materials like water, carbon, and nitrogen? Well, nature is too smart to waste those. They get recycled. Let's take a look at how this amazing recycling system works. Okay, we'll start with one you've probably known since primary school, the water cycle. It's a continuous journey. The sun heats up water, causing evaporation. That water vaporizes, cools, and forms clouds. That's condensation. Then it falls back down as rain, which is precipitation. The water then collects in rivers and lakes, or it's taken up by plants and released back into the air through a process called transpiration. And just like that, the cycle starts all over again. Next up is the carbon cycle. Carbon is literally the backbone of life. So how does it move around? Well, it's a giant exchange. Plants are the heroes here. They breathe in carbon dioxide from the air for photosynthesis. Then an animal comes along and eats the plant, taking in that carbon. Now, both the plant and the animal breathe out carbon dioxide through respiration. And when they die, our friends the decomposers get to work, releasing the carbon from the dead bodies back into the system. It's a perfect loop. Now, the nitrogen cycle. This one is a little more complicated, and because of that, you can bet it's an examiner's favorite. Most of the air we breathe is nitrogen, but plants can't use it in that form. So, who are the superstars that make it happen? Bacteria. Certain bacteria perform something called nitrogen fixation, where they convert that unusable atmospheric nitrogen into forms that plants can actually absorb. Then, after it's moved through the food chain, other types of bacteria do the reverse, denitrification, returning the nitrogen gas back into the atmosphere. And here is a golden nugget for your exams. Please write this down. When you think of the nitrogen cycle, you must remember its ultimate heroes, bacteria like rhizobium. These amazing little guys live in the roots of legume plants. Think about beans or groundnuts. It's a perfect partnership, a symbiotic relationship. This specific example is a classic and it comes up in exams again and again.
Now for the fun part. Let's put that knowledge to the test and see how you do in a real exam. We're going to tackle actual past questions from WAEC, JAMB, and NECO. Let's practice like champions. First up, a question from WAEC 2004. Listen carefully. Tropical rainforests can be conserved by the following practices except. Your options are A. Agroforestry, B. Deforestation, C. Shifting, cultivation, and D. Crop rotation. That word except is key. Take a second. What do you think? If you chose B, deforestation, you are absolutely correct. But in an exam, it's not enough to know the answer. You need to know why it's the answer. So, let's dig into the reasoning. The question asks, What does not conserve the forest? So we're looking for the bad guy here. Let's look at the options. Agroforestry, shifting cultivation, and crop rotation are all types of farming or land use methods that can, in their own way, help manage and preserve forest ecosystems. But deforestation, that's literally the definition of destroying a forest. It's the complete opposite of conservation. It wipes out habitats, messes up food webs, and disrupts the carbon cycle. It's the clear outlier. Now, here's a very common mistake, a trap that many students fall into. They mix up shifting cultivation and deforestation. They sound similar, but they're not the same. Shifting cultivation is often temporary, small-scale practice. Deforestation is permanent, large-scale destruction. In biology, words matter. Using precise terms will get you the marks. All right, let's switch gears to a JAMB question. This one from 2023. Which processes are involved in nutrient cycling in a functioning ecosystem? Okay, let's look at the options. A. Erosion, weathering, and sedimentation. B. Decomposition, evaporation, and precipitation. C. Nitrogen fixation, denitrification, and ammonification. Or D. Respiration, photosynthesis, and transpiration. Think back. Which of these groups belongs together in a single nutrient cycle? And the correct answer is C. Nitrogen fixation, denitrification, and ammonification. I hope you got that one. But let's break down why it's the only possible correct answer. So, the question is specifically about nutrient cycling. Let's look at the options again. Option A, erosion and weathering. Those are geological processes, not nutrient cycles. Option B, mixes decomposition with parts of the water cycle. Option D, mixes the carbon cycle with the water cycle. Only option C lists 3 processes that are all key stages of one single nutrient cycle, the nitrogen cycle. That's why it's the correct answer. The others are just a jumble of different processes. Here's another classic mistake: getting all the different cycles mixed up in your head. The examiners know this, so they create options designed to confuse you. Your job is to keep them separate. And a quick tip for your theory paper: please spell your biological terms correctly. Trophic, denitrification, it matters. 2. When you draw diagrams, label them neatly using straight lines. A ruler is your best friend. 3. Pay close attention to command words. Define is not the same as explain. 4. Avoid vague answers. Don't just say energy is lost. Say about 90% is lost. Be specific. And finally, always be ready to explain the difference between a simple food chain and a complex food web. Look at that. You learned the fundamental concepts. You've practiced with real questions from past exams. You now know what to expect. You now know what to expect. You now know what to expect. You absolutely ready for this. You absolutely got this. If you found this biology lesson helpful, please like this video, share it with your classmates and friends who are also preparing for WAEC, NECO, and JAMB, and subscribe to our YouTube channel right now so you don't miss the next topic. Also, visit www.examkiller.com for thousands of free practice questions and answers. Let's smash these exams